1,000 words. In the narrow, broken lanes of Udaipur, Rajasthan, stood a small one-room house with a tin roof and cracked walls. It wasn't much, but to Meena and her son Arman, it was everything. Arman was born during the summer, under a flickering bulb and amidst the quiet determination of a mother who had nothing but hope. His first cries were drowned by the buzzing of ceiling fans in distant homes. But to Meena, it was music that meant survival had a purpose. Meena was a housemaid who worked in 6 houses during the day and stitched torn blouses by night. She had lost her husband to alcoholism even before Arman could learn to walk. But she never let her boy feel the weight of her broken life. She would return home every night, tired to the bone, but with a smile stitched on her face. "Tera din zarur ayega, Arman," she used to whisper, ruffling his hair. But fate, as it often does, came with cold hands and a cruel heart. One winter, Meena fell sick. What began as coughing turned into breathlessness. The local doctor, who charged only 20 for a checkup, said it was tuberculosis. They didn't have the money for treatment. She worked until the day her knees collapsed in a stranger's kitchen. Within weeks, she was gone. Arman, barely 6, sat beside her body, not fully understanding death, only that she was cold and wouldn't open her eyes again. Arman's world, already fragile, shattered. His maternal aunt refused to take him in. Eventually, a man came, tall, rough-looking, smelling of beetas and cheap liquor. "Mainiska Bapun," he said. His name was Rakesh, Meena's estranged husband, who had walked out years ago. He had remarried, and now Arman was part of a new household he never wanted to be in. Kamla, his stepmother, hated him from the moment he walked in. Her eyes saw him not as a child who had just lost his mother, but as an unwanted guest who was stealing her space. She made it very clear, he was not her son. She beat him with sandals for spilling water. She slapped him for touching her kitchen vessels. And when he cried at night missing Meena, she locked him outside on the veranda. Rakesh was rarely home. He worked at a construction site during the day and drank his mind numb by evening. When sober, he was quiet. When drunk, he was violent, often smashing plates and yelling curses no child should ever hear. Arman stopped crying. He stopped asking questions. He learned to become invisible. He cooked, swept, fetched water, and helped a mechanic during weeds to earn a few coins for school books. His only escape was the government school library, a room no bigger than a kitchen, filled with torn pages and dusty shelves. He read about kings and rebels, inventors and entrepreneurs. There, between the lines of their stories, he started writing his own. By the time he turned 17, Arman had enough. One evening, after Kamla beat him for accidentally tearing a pillow, he didn't shout. He didn't cry. He quietly packed a small bag, took CO 500s that he had hidden inside a broken radio, and walked out. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew he wouldn't stay. He boarded a truck heading to Jaipur, sitting in the back with crates of tomatoes. That night, under the open sky, hungry and cold, he made a promise. "I will not die ordinary." In Jaipur, he found work at a tea stall. The owner, Imtiaz Chacha, was a middle-aged man with a paunch and a soft heart. He noticed how Arman cleaned more carefully than others, how he served tea with respect, how he saved biscuits for later. "Tum mein kuch alag hai," he once said. He offered him a place to sleep, a blanket in the storeroom, and 3 meals a day. Arman never wasted time. After work, he began reading again. He borrowed a second-hand smartphone and watched YouTube videos about entrepreneurship, branding, fashion, and digital marketing. He scribbled ideas in an old diary: custom t-shirts, streetwear for youth, small budget stores in B-tier cities. At 19, he had saved 17,000, enough to start something small. He bought 50 plain t-shirts and printed quotes on them like "hustle in silence," "born to break rules," and "respect the struggle," using a local printer. He started selling them outside colleges from a bicycle cart. Students loved the rawness, the attitude, and the price. Slowly, orders increased. Then came Zoya. She was a college student, bold and bright, who ran a fashion blog. One day, she saw Arman's stall and asked, "Tum design khud karte ho?" That one question turned into a 45-minute conversation. Zoya was impressed by his passion. She bought a shirt, then she came back the next day, and the next. Soon, they were in love. Zoya wasn't just Arman's girlfriend. She became his partner, emotionally, creatively, and mentally. She helped him create a logo, Real Hustle. She designed better t-shirt prints. She used her social media following to promote the brand. Business exploded. By 22, Armand rented a small garage. It became his first office, his first shop, and his first production unit. He employed 2 school dropouts and trained them. His earnings jumped from 300 a day to 3,000. Every evening, Zoya and Armand would sit on the rooftop eating street food, dreaming about their future. "We'll open stores in every city," she said. "I'll make you proud," he replied. But success is a slippery thing. At 25, Armand decided to expand. He invested 6 lakh in a new collection. He bought material in bulk, hired a marketing guy, and rented a bigger space. But 1 week before the launch, disaster struck. His supplier vanished with the stock and advance payment. Armand was shattered. There was no proof, no legal help. His account was empty. Rent was due. His workers left. Customers stopped ordering. Zoya changed. She became distant. Her calls became shorter. She stopped discussing business ideas. One evening in a dim cafe, she said, "I think we need a break. You've changed. You're always stressed. I don't see a future." He was too numb to argue. The girl who once held his hand through everything now let go because he stumbled. And just like that, Armand was alone again. For months, he sank into darkness. Depression hung like a fog. He sold his phone, slept in parks, ate 1 meal a day. Sometimes he thought of ending it all. But then he'd remember Mina's words, "Tera din zarar ayega." That line kept him alive. One morning, sitting outside a shoe repair shop, he saw a boy painting white shoes with red graffiti. A thought struck. Custom shoes. Stylish, affordable, unique. With 2,000 borrowed from Imtiaz Chacha, he bought old shoes from local shops, fabric paints, and brushes. He spent nights designing them, testing colors, and photographing his work. He created an Instagram page, @PhoenixWalkIndia. Nothing happened for 2 weeks. Then one reel went viral. Within 3 days, he had 200 followers, then 1,000, then 10,000. Orders started pouring in. He didn't sleep for nights, fulfilling them alone. People loved the rawness, designs with a story, he called them. He slowly built a workshop, hired 2 teenage boys, created a website, collaborated with influencers. By 27, he was featured in a business magazine as the boy who painted his way back. He opened 2 outlets, one in Jaipur, one in Udaipur. He returned to Udaipur not with revenge, but with grace. He passed by Kamla's house. She didn't recognize him. He smiled and walked away. Years later, someone asked him during a podcast, "What was your turning point?" He paused and said, "When life punched me so hard, I had no breath left, but still chose to get up." He became a millionaire, but he still slept on the floor sometimes. By the time Armand turned 28, his sneaker brand Phoenix Walk wasn't just a small business, it was a movement. Young people from across India connected with it because it stood for something more than style. It stood for struggle. It stood for starting over. Every design told a story. Some shoes had words like, "built from dust." Others had artwork showing broken chains, phoenix feathers, or burning cities. Each pair symbolized a comeback. But success is never smooth. It's filled with pressure, decisions, and unexpected challenges. As Phoenix Walk grew, Armand started getting offers from investors. A Delhi-based firm offered to inject 2 crores into the company in exchange for 40% equity. Armand was tempted. That money could help him scale faster, open new branches, maybe even take his brand global. But he remembered what he'd built, not just a company, but an identity. He declined. Instead, he built a small team, designers, marketers, customer care, all young, all passionate. Among them was a guy named Saurabh. He was sharp, confident, always full of ideas. Armand trusted him deeply and promoted him to operations head within a year. That decision would later cost him everything. Meanwhile, Phoenix Walk exploded on social media. Bollywood stars started wearing his shoes. Fashion influencers showcased his sneakers at events. Armand traveled to Mumbai, Chennai, even Dubai, attending expos, building networks, and learning the ropes of international branding. He worked 16 hours a day. No weekends. No parties. His life was work, team, and vision. But fame brings shadows. Zoya, the girl who had left him at his lowest, suddenly sent a message one day. "Congratulations. Proud of how far you've come." He stared at the screen for a while, then turned it off. A week later, he saw her at an airport lounge in Delhi. She was with her colleagues, heading for a conference. Their eyes met. She walked over. "You look powerful," she smiled nervously. "You look familiar." he replied coldly. There was silence. Then she asked, "Do you ever think of us?" Armand sighed. "Not us, but I often think of the boy I was when I loved you." Zoya looked down. "I was scared. I didn't know how to stand beside someone drowning." "You didn't have to save me," he said. "You just had to stay." They talked for a few minutes. She told him she regretted leaving, that she was proud of his success. Before leaving, she asked, "If I had stayed, do you think we would have worked?" He looked her straight in the eye. "If you had stayed, I would have never become this." And just like that, the chapter closed forever. Back at work, Armand sensed something strange. Orders were being delayed. Some clients reported payments sent but not acknowledged. When he checked the books, there were missing entries, ghost suppliers, and fake transactions. It all led to one name: Saurabh. The man Armand trusted like a brother had been embezzling money, forging bills, and diverting funds to his personal account. When confronted, Saurabh didn't even deny it. "You trusted me too much, Baya," he said with a smirk. "That was your biggest mistake." Armand was shattered. Not because of the money, he could earn that back, but because betrayal from within hurts more than failure outside. He filed a legal case. Media picked up the story. Investors backed out. Social media buzzed with gossip. Competitors mocked. People doubted. For a week, Armand didn't speak to anyone. He sat in his workshop, staring at an unfinished pair of sneakers. Then he opened his mother's old diary. Learn to hold your own hand and walk. That night, he designed a new shoe called Betrayal, black and gray, with a stitched crack across the side and the words, "Still Standing," embroidered on the tongue. It went viral. Orders skyrocketed. Armand turned the betrayal into branding. He launched a new campaign called "Every Scar is a Signature." People loved it. Phoenix Walk made a comeback stronger than before. This time, Armand changed how he operated. More audits, more control, more honesty. He hired differently, not just based on skills, but values. He started mentoring young entrepreneurs for free, held webinars, opened a training center in Jaipur to teach design and e-commerce to underprivileged youth. One day, a 17-year-old boy walked into his office and said, "Sir, I want to be like you. I don't have a father. I clean utensils in hotels, but I want to make shoes." Armand smiled. "You don't have to be like me. You have to be better than me." He gave him a job, paid for his evening education. That boy, within 2 years, became head of design. By 30, Armand had taken Phoenix Walk global. Orders came from Dubai, Singapore, even Germany. He spoke at TEDx. He launched a biography titled "Burnt But Not Broken." It became a bestseller. In an interview, a journalist asked him, "What's your biggest win?" He didn't mention money, fame, or rewards. He simply said that I didn't quit, that I didn't turn bitter, that I didn't become like the people who hurt me. Because he believes success isn't about the destination, it's about who you become on the way. And Armand, the orphan, the beaten child, the heartbroken boy, the betrayed man, had become something beautiful. Not perfect, but powerful. Because some people wear crowns of gold. In the tangled streets of Yerawada, Pune, where kids played cricket with plastic bottles and mothers screamed from tin-roofed homes, a boy named Rivan Malhotra was born into struggle. His first breath was taken in a small clinic that smelled of Dettol and despair. His mother Lata held him close and whispered, "Tu khas hai Rivan, tu mera sapna hai." His father wasn't around to hear it. He was in jail for theft, assault, and crimes Rivan would never fully understand. By the time Rivan turned 3, his father died during a prison fight. No funeral, no goodbye. Lada was everything: mother, protector, and dreamer. So she worked in a mess kitchen from 5 a.m. till noon, then cleaned houses in Koregaon Park in the afternoons. Every rupee she earned smelled like sweat and turmeric. Yet every evening, she returned with a smile and a packet of vada pav, one for her and one for Rivan. "Why do you work so much, Ma?" he once asked at age 7. She smiled. "Because one day, you'll own a restaurant so big, even the sky will have to make a reservation." But dreams aren't always enough. When Rivan was 10, Lada fell sick. The cough started small, then grew into fits that left her breathless. Doctors asked for tests. Tests asked for money. They didn't have it. One night, Lada coughed blood. She still went to work the next day. The day after that, she collapsed in the rich bathroom of a bungalow she cleaned. She died before the ambulance arrived. Rivan never forgot the silence of that night. No one cried. No one came. Only a cold body wrapped in white cloth and the sound of rain hitting the rusted tin roof. The next day, his relatives came. Not to support, but to take over. An uncle he had never met appeared. "He's your responsibility now," someone told Ramesh Malhotra, Lada's elder cousin. Ramesh nodded without emotion. And just like that, Rivan's life was uprooted. Ramesh lived in a chawl near Pune railway station. He worked as a loader and had a loud wife named Savita. She didn't like Rivan. From day one, she made it clear he was extra luggage. She fed him leftovers, made him wash utensils, beat him for spilling water or not waking up in time. At night, when he coughed too loudly, she threw water on his mattress and told him to sleep on the floor. Ramesh was no different. If Rivan asked for school books, he got a slap. If he asked for food, he got silence. Still, Rivan studied. He borrowed textbooks from friends, read under streetlights, and helped at a local dosa stall on weekends to earn a few coins. The dosa master, Biku Anna, noticed how curious Rivan was. "Tu surf dek mat, seek," he said once, handing him a spatula. By 15, Rivan could make 12 types of dosas and 4 kinds of chutneys blindfolded. But he wanted more. He wanted a future. At 17, he passed his 12th boards with 82%. He applied for part-time hotel management in a night college. During the day, he started working as a helper in a Chinese food van. That's where he met Alina. She was a BMM student from Mumbai who had moved to Pune. Her laughter was loud, her questions were bold, and she had a habit of tipping too much. One evening, she saw Rivan struggling with the walk and asked, "Mind if I show you how to make proper Hakka noodles?" He smiled, surprised. "Please." She tossed noodles like a pro. They clicked instantly. Days turned into weeks. Alina started visiting often, then helping, then staying after the stall closed. She loved food. He loved passion. They were both scarred in their own ways. She had run away from an abusive home. He had grown up in one. Together, they found healing. They would sit under the flyover and dream. "I want to open a cloud kitchen," Rivan once said. "Something modern. Good food, zero waste, all tech-driven." Alina's eyes sparkled. "Then let's build it." At 21, Rivan used his savings and took a Waz 1 lakh loan from a former teacher. He rented a small 100 square feet space and started the Hungry Stove, a cloud kitchen specializing in Indian-Chinese fusion. He made momos stuffed with pav bhaji, Szechuan khichdi, and Manchurian Frankies. Orders came in through Swiggy and Zomato. Alina handled the graphics and social media. Rivan handled food. Within 3 months, they had 300+ repeat customers. The food was different. Wild, addictive, blogs wrote about it. A YouTube food reviewer gave them a 9/10. Rivan expanded. He opened 2 more kitchens, one in Kothrud, one in Viman Nagar. He hired 8 delivery boys, 3 chefs, and 2 admin staff. And Alina? She became everything. Partner, soul, strategy, and future wife, or so he thought. But fate was listening, waiting. One night, a food delivery went terribly wrong. A customer found a piece of plastic in their noodles and uploaded a video that went viral. The media picked it up, trolls attacked, orders dropped by 80%. But that wasn't the worst part. Rivan found out that Alina was cheating on him with their own marketing head. It hit like a knife. She didn't even deny it. She just said, "We've changed. You're obsessed with food. I need more." She left, took the branding accounts, took the team's trust, and took Rivan's heart with her. He tried to fight back, but it was too late. Orders stopped, rent defaulted, staff left. Within 2 months, the Hungry Stove was shut down. Rivan was broken. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping, slept on the kitchen floor of the old van where he once cooked dosas. But one night, he lit a stove again. He made a simple bowl of khichdi for himself. No orders, no pressure, just food. But this time, the wait was different. The world wasn't just doubting his business. It was doubting his truth. Headlines twisted his journey into spectacle. Clickbait replaced compassion. Some YouTubers even mocked his speech, replaying his heartfelt video as part of inspirational cringe compilations. But in the middle of the storm, something powerful stirred within him. Maybe the pain was repeating because he hadn't yet finished becoming who he was meant to be. He locked himself inside the warehouse office for 3 days. No calls, No meetings, no noise, just silence, spreadsheets, and strategy. When he finally emerged, he didn't look defeated. He looked sharp, almost surgical. He didn't want sympathy anymore. He wanted to rebuild the company's core so it could never be shaken again. The first thing he did was restructure Garca Cloud's onboarding. Every chef would now upload a short video showing their kitchen, talking about their story, and cooking in real time. Every order would now include a printed note from the chef. This wasn't just branding, it was rebuilding trust. He hired a PR consultant not to create drama, but to tell honest stories. He invited the same journalists who had doubted him to visit the kitchens. Slowly, public opinion shifted. People began to see the faces behind the food. A single mother making 300 deliveries a week from her 6x6 home kitchen, a retired army cook serving parathas using his pension money, a disabled chef running a menu with only one functional arm. These were not actors, these were heroes. Revenue doubled within 6 weeks, investors returned. But this time, Rivan didn't say no. He chose selectively. A Bangalore-based venture capital firm invested 2 crore for 10% equity. The money was used to automate delivery logistics, build an in-house app, and set up training for underprivileged chefs. Rivan called it the Fire School. There, abandoned women, unemployed youth, and ex-prisoners learned cooking, packaging, hygiene, and the art of storytelling. One graduate even opened his own cloud kitchen, under Garca Cloud, and was earning $40,000 a month within 5 months. Rivan kept working like a machine. No alcohol, no vacations, no distractions. Even when Forbes India called him for a photo shoot, he sent his operations manager in his place. "I'm not the face," he said. "They are." But the world wasn't done testing him. One afternoon, while reviewing quarterly reports, he noticed inconsistencies in payments. Some vendor invoices were double charged, some refund policies were altered. He cross-checked again. It wasn't a system glitch, it was deliberate. His heart sank. He called his co-founder Jay. "I need you in the office, now." Jay arrived, confident as ever, sipping cold coffee like it was just another day. Rivan confronted him with the numbers. Jay smiled and said, "Don't be dramatic. It's just cash flow shuffling. We'll fix it." Rivan stared. "Why is 18 lakhs sitting in a separate wallet under your name?" Jay paused for 2 seconds too long, then said, "You wouldn't understand. I've done more for this company than anyone else. I deserve more." Rivan's chest tightened. "Not again. Not after Alina. Not after trusting someone like a brother. You were my partner," he said quietly. Jay shrugged. "And now I'm your reality check." Rivan didn't yell. He didn't curse. He just walked over to his laptop, compiled every file, every log, and filed a legal complaint. Jay was removed the same evening, but the news leaked fast. "Another betrayal at Garca Cloud," read the headlines. "Founder can't catch a break." Investors panicked. Social media exploded again. This time, the hate was worse. People said, "Where there's smoke, there's fire." Some even suggested Rivan was creating fake betrayals for media sympathy. "He's addicted to being a victim," one tweet read. That night, Rivan sat on the office floor, surrounded by invoices, delivery bags, and silence. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just whispered, "Is all this still worth it?" Then his phone buzzed. It was a message of Mishra, a small-town boy who rises through online freelancing, loses it all, and fights back harder. Let's begin with the full 8,000-word story. Chasing Empty Pockets. A full-length inspirational story, 8,000 words. Part 1 begins. Arav Mishra was born in a village where dreams were smaller than the rooms people lived in. The houses had cracked walls, water came twice a week, and electricity had a habit of disappearing without notice. But even in the middle of broken things, Arav's mother, Shanta, carried herself like a queen. She worked as a tailor, stitching clothes for the entire village, often sitting late into the night under the dim light of a kerosene lamp. Arav's father, Suraj Mishra, had died in a road accident when Arav was just 5. After that, life became a long road with no clear turns. Shanta poured everything she had into raising her son. She made him believe that the world outside was bigger than their village. "Don't live like you're from here," she would say, adjusting his torn school shirt. Live like you're going somewhere better. Arav listened. He studied under streetlights, shared books with 3 classmates, and walked 5 kilometers to the nearest school. He topped every class, not because he was the smartest, but because he was the most desperate to leave. By the time he turned 16, his mother fell seriously ill. Doctors in the city diagnosed her with kidney failure. The treatment needed lax. Shanta kept working until her hands shook too much to hold a needle. Arav started selling snacks in trains to help with hospital bills. He once stood at a city station for 16 hours straight, selling bread pakoras and chai, earning just 280s. But still, he refused to give up. At 18, Arav left for Lucknow, carrying nothing but a small bag, 2 pairs of clothes, and his mother's sewing kit. He got admission in a low-cost college through a scholarship. He lived in a shared room with 4 other boys. Life was hard, but Arav had one weapon: the internet. He discovered freelancing. He saw people earning in dollars just by editing videos, designing logos, or writing content. He watched tutorials during his lunch break and practiced at night. In 6 months, he made his first $5 writing an email copy for an American client. That moment changed his life. He worked like a machine, 16 hours a day, taking whatever work came his way. He wrote blogs, edited wedding videos, designed brochures, and slowly started earning $300, $400 per month. In Indian money, it was magic. He began sending money home. His mother's treatment resumed. For the first time, he felt like he was winning. At 21, he launched his own freelancing team, SwiftStorm. He hired his college juniors, trained them, and started scaling up. He managed social media for real estate clients, edited reels for influencers, and built Shopify stores for dropshippers. Money flowed. His team grew to 25 members. He shifted to a small apartment and bought his first secondhand laptop that didn't hang every 15 minutes. And then he met Naina. She was in her final year of college, studying mass communication. She had long black hair, spoke like a poet, and had a laugh that felt like summer. They met at a college fest, argued about food choices, and became inseparable. Naina loved how Arav worked. She said he was fire in human form. Arav had never been loved before. Not like this. They started dreaming together. They would start a digital agency, travel the world, write books, speak on TED. He trusted her like he trusted the sky to stay above his head. After graduation, they shifted to Noida together and rented a 1 BHK flat. SwiftStorm was now doing 5 lakh revenue a month. Arav was 23 and already successful in his world. He started sharing his story on YouTube. His channel grew. People started calling him the village freelancer. Life was more than good. It was golden. But gold melts too. Arav began noticing small changes. Some clients were not paying, team members were leaving. His business partner in the agency, Kunal, suddenly resigned. Arav checked the back end. The passwords had been changed. The clients were gone. The websites were redirected. The entire operation had been duplicated under a new name, Creative Storm. And Naina was listed as Creative Storm's brand strategist. Arav felt like a building that had been knocked down with no warning. He tried calling her. She didn't answer. He waited outside her office. She walked past him like he was a stranger. Later, in a bitter email, she wrote, "You're talented, Arav, but you don't think big. I want more. I can't wait for you to get there." He sat on the floor of his flat for 17 hours, staring at the empty space where her books used to be. The team was gone. The clients were gone. The savings were gone. Even the electricity was gone. He had forgotten to pay the bill. He moved back into a 3,500 per month room on the edge of Ghaziabad, next to a mechanic's shop. The paint peeled off the walls. The fan made a sound like it wanted to leave. He sold his laptop and began using a cyber cafe to look for small freelance gigs. Nobody trusted him now. The new clients wanted agencies. The old ones had moved on. He thought of quitting. He thought of going back to the village and opening a stall. But one night, as he sat on the rooftop, watching the city lights, he remembered his mother's voice. "Don't live like you're from here." Arav started with ghostwriting. Not fancy blogs or marketing emails, just product descriptions for $1 each. Then captions for Instagram. Then a Fiverr gig designing CVs. Every day, he walked 1 kilometer to the cyber cafe, worked for 6 hours, came home, wrote client drafts in his notebook, and returned the next day to type and send. Slowly, the noise in his mind reduced. He wasn't chasing the money anymore. He was chasing flow, progress, survival. He read books, not expensive ones, just PDFs downloaded illegally. He studied design, researched algorithms. He didn't talk to people. He didn't share his pain on YouTube. He just worked. After 4 months of complete silence, he posted a story on LinkedIn. Lost everything. Rebuilding from scratch. Open to work. A small travel agency in Australia gave him a shot. He edited 3 videos for $30. They liked it. Gave him 5 more. Then 10. Then introduced him to another client. Word spread. 1 client became 3. 3 became 6. Within 5 months, he had enough to buy a second-hand laptop again. He stopped using the cyber cafe. He stopped feeling like a ghost. Instead of restarting Swiftstorm, he named the new venture Ground Zero. He promised himself that no one else would ever take his base again. He built his team differently this time. Not friends, not classmates, but small freelancers who had failed like him. People who had been left behind, laughed at, doubted. Together, they worked in silence. They didn't post company retreats on Instagram. They didn't throw fancy parties. They delivered results. In 1 year, Ground Zero had 40 clients from 6 countries. They handled everything: podcast editing, short-form reels, ad creatives, voiceovers, thumbnails. Arav designed a system where each service was priced affordably but executed professionally. He built his own project management tool using Notion and Airtable, then taught the team how to use it. Soon, Ground Zero became known as the Invisible Agency. No hype, just output. By 25, Arav was back at 6 lakh a month in revenue. But this time, something was different. He didn't feel pressure to prove anything. He didn't want revenge. He wanted peace. But life wasn't done testing him. One day, he got a call from a talent manager of a famous YouTuber. The creator had a team of 15 editors and was looking to outsource short-form edits for his new channel. It was a huge opportunity. Arav said yes. For 3 months, they delivered consistent work. 45 videos a week, each under 60 seconds. Fast, viral, optimized. The results were explosive. And then, the payments stopped. The manager ghosted them. The contract had no penalty clause. They had delivered 5.8 lakh worth of work for free. It was legal, but it was a trap. Arav sat in his chair, hands shaking. Not because of the money, but because even after all his precautions, his team was suffering again. He called an emergency meeting. His voice was calm. We've been hit. Again. But we don't go down this time. The next day, he launched Ground Zero's first public campaign, Pay What You Can. For 7 days, small creators could order any editing service and pay whatever they could afford. Some paid tens, some paid 500, some paid nothing. But in return, Ground Zero delivered. The campaign went viral. Influencers started talking, newsletters wrote about it. Even the YouTuber who ghosted them sent a private apology. But Arav didn't respond. He had already moved on. Within 2 months, Ground Zero had tripled its client base. They launched a course for freelancers. No webinars, no upsells. Just raw, real advice on how not to get scammed, how to charge, and how to build reputation. Arav priced it at $199. Over 40,000 people bought it in 3 weeks. He used the earnings to build a co-working space in Lucknow for small freelancers. No high charges, just free desks, Wi-Fi, and chai. He called it the Restart Room. People came, hundreds, young girls from slums, dropouts, divorcees, failed businessmen, everyone with a dream and nowhere to sit. Arav didn't wear suits, he didn't stand on stages, but he became a quiet force. One evening, while organizing files in the Lucknow Center, he found an old envelope. Inside, it was his mother's last handwritten letter. It read, "If life breaks you, let it, but don't forget how to sew yourself back." He cried. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to cry without guilt. And that night, shirt, no background music, no transitions, just him. I was never the best. Not the smartest, not the richest, but I always returned. I always worked. And if you're watching this, and you're broke, heartbroken, lost, laughed at, know this. It doesn't end here. You are not empty. You're just not full yet. That video hit 10 million views. He didn't expect it, but he didn't chase it either. He just smiled and opened his laptop for another client edit. Because he wasn't chasing. Arav was just 7 years old when his life changed forever. He lived in a small town with his parents. His mother, Mira, was the light of his life. She had soft eyes, warm hands, and a heart full of love. She used to sing lullabies for him at night, pack his lunch with care, and kiss his forehead every morning. Arav felt safe in her arms. Even when there was little money at home, his mother's love made him feel rich. His father, Ramesh, was a driver who worked long hours in the city. He didn't speak much but provided what little he could. One rainy evening, Mira fell very ill. Her body was burning with fever. The local doctor came and gave some medicines, but nothing worked. Arav sat by her side, holding her cold hands, tears rolling down his face. She looked at him, her voice weak and fading, and said, "Arav, promise me something. Be strong and never stop dreaming. One day you will do something big. Don't let this world break you." Arav nodded, not truly understanding that this would be the last time he would hear her voice. That night, Mira passed away. Arav kept shaking her, asking her to wake up. But she was gone. His world went silent. After Mira's death, Arav's life became dark and lonely. His father, who couldn't manage things alone, remarried just a few months later. The new woman's name was Sunita. In front of others, she acted sweet and loving. But once the doors were closed, her true face appeared. She hated Arav. She treated him like a servant. She shouted at him for small mistakes, slapped him without reason, and gave him leftover food. "You are not my son. Your mother is dead. You should have gone with her," she would say. Arav's father, who was always busy with work, didn't see what was happening, and when Arav tried to tell him, he would shout, "She is your mother now. Don't lie about her." Arav cried silently at night, holding the small photo of his real mother. He missed her hugs, her voice, her love. But he didn't break. Every day, he cleaned the house, did the laundry, and walked to school barefoot because Sunita refused to buy him shoes. His clothes were torn, but his eyes were full of silent dreams. He wanted to run away, but he had nowhere to go. So he waited. He waited for the day he could grow up and leave that hell behind. When he turned 16, he started working after school. He cleaned tables at a tea stall, carried water cans for shops, and saved every rupee. He hid the money in an old book under his bed. His stepmother never knew. She thought he was just going to school and being useless. But inside, a fire had started in Arav. A fire to prove himself. A fire to live a better life. At 18, Arav left home. He didn't tell anyone. With just 2,500 in his pocket, he took a train to a nearby city. He rented a small room with a tin roof and cracked walls. It was dirty, but it was his own. No one to beat him. No one to shout at him. Just freedom. He worked in an electronics shop for 12 hours a day, learning how to repair phones and computers. He ate one meal a day and saved every coin. His boss was strict, but Arav never complained. He learned quickly, worked hard, and earned trust. After 3 years, he opened a small mobile repair shop with the money he saved. It had just one table, 2 chairs, and a big dream. Business was slow at first, but he smiled at every customer and never cheated anyone. People started trusting him. Slowly, his shop became known in the area. One day, a girl named Ria walked in with a broken phone. She had long hair, sharp eyes, and a kind smile. Arav fixed her phone quickly and didn't charge much. She smiled and said, "You're honest. That's rare." That one meeting turned into many. She started visiting often, sometimes with phone problems, sometimes just to talk. Arav started feeling something he hadn't felt in years: comfort. Ria was studying fashion design. She was cheerful, ambitious, and supportive. They became best friends, then something more. Arav told her everything, about his mother, his stepmother, his struggles. Ria didn't judge. She held his hand and said, "One day, you'll own a company. I believe in you." Arav smiled. With her by his side, the world didn't feel so heavy. As years passed, Arav's business grew. He opened 2 more shops, hired staff, and even gave jobs to young boys who had no one, just like he once did. He and Ria were together for 6 years. They had dreams of marriage, of building a life. Arav started planning for a bigger company, importing and selling mobile accessories. He took loans, made deals, and took risks. But sometimes dreams come with storms. One of his suppliers ran away with a huge payment. A shipment got stuck at the port. Then, a fire broke out in his warehouse. Within 3 months, everything collapsed. The shops were closed, loans piled up, and Arav was drowning in debt. He sold his bike, moved back to a small rented room, and skipped meals again. But the hardest blow was still waiting. One evening, Ria came to meet him. Her face was serious, her eyes cold. "Arav," she said, "I can't do this anymore. My parents are forcing me to marry someone else. And I think they're right. You've changed. You're always sad, always stressed. This is not the life I want." Arav was shocked. "But we promised each other. You said we'd face everything together." "I did," she said, "but I'm tired now. I need a future, not pain." And just like that, she walked away. Arav sat alone that night, staring at the walls. The girl he loved, the business he built, the life he dreamed of, everything was gone. He felt broken. He thought of ending everything. But then he remembered his mother's last words: "Be strong. One day, you will do something big." That voice, that memory, pulled him back from the edge. He wiped his tears and stood up. "I will not quit," he said to himself. "Not now. Not ever." The next morning, he went to a local factory and asked for work. He worked as a helper, then slowly started learning the business. It was tough, dirty hands, long hours, low pay, but he didn't stop. He used his free time to learn online about digital marketing, supply chains, e-commerce. Every night, he wrote ideas in a notebook. 2 years later, he launched a small online business from his rented room. He started selling mobile covers, chargers, and accessories. He packed products himself, delivered them on his old cycle, and responded to every customer message. People loved his service. Within a year, his monthly income grew. He hired 2 helpers, then rented a small warehouse. Slowly, his brand became known. He reinvested every rupee. He worked 16 hours a day. There were setbacks, returns, and customer complaints. But Arav never gave up. 5 years after his fall, Arav opened his first branded showroom in the city. It had a clean logo, bright lights, and a big photo of his mother at the entrance. He named the company Miratech, after the woman who believed in him. Today, Arav is the CEO of a company that sells across India. He gives speeches to young entrepreneurs, donates to orphanages, and hires people from poor backgrounds. He never remarried. He says, "I'm married to my dream now." When someone asked him what made you successful into Arav's journey, as his success grows, but new challenges and twists come his way too. Arav's journey was not just about growing a business. It was also about healing. He still carried the pain of his past, his mother's death, the beatings from his stepmother, the betrayal by Ria. But instead of letting that pain destroy him, he turned it into power. Every time he felt weak, he looked at his mother's photo and reminded himself of his promise. He had made it. He had built something from nothing. But success, like life, always tests you. Now that Miratech was running smoothly, Arav started expanding. He began manufacturing his own mobile accessories instead of buying from others. He hired local workers and gave jobs to people who were struggling just like he once had. Many of them were orphans, street boys, or people who had been rejected by society. Arav believed that everyone deserved a second chance. He told his team, "We are not just building products, we are building people." His brand started becoming popular across the state. Big e-commerce websites listed his products. He even got invited to a business award event in Delhi. Standing on stage with a mic in his hand, he spoke in his simple words, "I was not born rich, I was not born lucky, but I was born with fire, and that fire comes from struggle." The audience gave him a standing ovation. People started recognizing his face, his story, his mission. But behind all this success, Arav was still human. He still missed Ria sometimes. He often wondered what life would have been if she had stayed. Would they be married? Would they have kids? He didn't know. But he also understood that sometimes people leave not because they are bad, but because they are not strong enough to walk with you in the dark. And it's okay. Not everyone can handle storms. But those who do, they shine forever. One day, while he was walking out of his office, he saw a familiar face. It was Ria. She looked older, tired, and had lost her glow. She walked up to him slowly. "Arav," she said, "I saw your interview on TV. I didn't know you would come this far." Arav nodded gently, trying to hide the mix of feelings inside him. "I didn't know either," he replied. "Life teaches us how to walk, even when our legs shake." There was silence between them. Ria looked down. "I'm sorry for leaving. I made a mistake. I thought money was everything. But I realized peace is bigger. And you gave me peace. I was just too blind to see it then." Arav looked into her eyes and smiled, not out of pain, but peace. It's okay, Ria. You taught me something too, that I should never depend on someone else to carry my dreams. That journey is mine alone. She nodded, and after a few more words, she left. Arav didn't feel angry. He didn't feel hurt. He felt free. For the first time in years, he let go of the last piece of his past that was holding him down. As time passed, Arav opened training centers to teach poor children how to repair electronics and start their own businesses. He named each center after his mother, Mira Skill Center. He didn't just want to earn, he wanted to change lives. And he did. Meanwhile, one evening, he received a phone call. Arav Beta, this is your father. The voice was weak, shaky, and full of regret. Arav paused. He had not heard from his father in over 10 years. I'm very sick, and I don't have anyone else. For a moment, Arav felt the pain of his childhood rush back, the nights of hunger, the beatings, the cries. But then he took a deep breath and said, I'll come tomorrow. The next morning, he went back to his childhood town. The roads were the same, the house is old, and the pain still hung in the air. His father was lying on a small bed in a dark room. Sunita, the stepmother who tortured him for years, had left him after he got sick. She ran away with the money. Arav looked at his father, who now looked like a shadow of the man he once feared. I'm sorry, Beta, his father whispered, tears running down his cheeks. I failed you. I didn't protect you. I didn't believe you. Arav sat beside him, silent for a long time. Then he replied, You were not a bad man, Papa. You were a weak one. And I understand now. Weak people don't hurt us because they hate us. They hurt us because they can't carry their own pain. He took care of his father until his last breath. He gave him the dignity that he never got himself as a child. That's what made Arav different. He didn't carry hate, he carried healing. After his father's death, Arav returned home, stronger than ever. He expanded Miratech internationally. His company started exporting products to the Middle East and Southeast Asia. He gave TED Talks, was featured in magazines, and even had a short documentary made on his life. But despite all this, he stayed simple. He still lived in a normal flat, still ate simple food, still visited the old temple his mother once took him to. He didn't drink, he didn't party, he didn't show off his wealth. He believed success is not shown by cars or clothes, it is shown by peace. When young people met him, they always asked the same question, Sir, how did you do it? And Arav would smile and say, by not quitting. That's all. The world will break you, laugh at you, leave you. But if you keep walking, one day the same world will clap for you. Years passed. Arav was now in his 40s. He never remarried. He often sat on his office terrace at night, looking at the stars, thinking of his mother. I kept my promise, Ma, he would whisper. I did something big. I didn't let the world break me. His employees respected him like a father. His company became a place where broken people found a home. Ex-prisoners, abandoned children, single mothers. Miratech gave them all a chance. Arav's story became a symbol of what a human being can become, not because of money, but because of courage. One day, a young boy came to his office. He was 16, skinny, scared, and had bruises on his hands. Arav looked at him and asked, What's your name, Beta? Rohit, the boy replied, eyes down. Why are you here? I ran away from home. My stepfather beats me. I have nowhere to go. Arav stood up, walked over to him, and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. You're in the right place, Rohit. You are safe now. And just like that, a new chapter began. Because Arav didn't just build a business, he built a world. A world where broken people could rise again. A world where pain was not the end, but the beginning of greatness. And that is how a boy who once cried in the corner of a dark room became the light for thousands. Not by magic, not by luck, but by never giving up. 10,000 plus... village surrounded by hills and silence. His mother, Aruna, was a strong and kind woman who raised him with love and care. She taught him to smile even when they had no food, to say thank you even when life was unfair, and to dream big even when everything around them felt small. His father, Kiran, worked as a security guard in a nearby town. He came home twice a week, tired and quiet. Still, Xavian's world was full of warmth because of his mother. One morning, Aruna started coughing badly. Xavian thought it was just a cold, but it didn't stop. There were no good hospitals nearby, and they didn't have money to travel to the city. She grew weaker every day. One evening, she held Xavian close and whispered, "Xavi, no matter what happens, always be kind, and never stop believing in yourself. You are meant for something big." Xavian nodded, trying to hold back his tears. That night, she stopped breathing. Xavian cried for hours. He was just 8 years old. His father came home and cried too, but 2 months later, he remarried. Her name was Kamla. At first, she acted sweet, bringing sweets and talking softly. But within weeks, her sweetness turned into poison. She slapped Xavian for being too slow, shouted at him for eating too much, and made him sleep outside during winter nights. She locked the kitchen when his father went to work, leaving Xavian hungry. When he told his father, Kiran looked away and said, "Don't make trouble. Kamla is trying." Xavian stopped complaining. He kept his pain inside. He went to school barefoot, wearing torn shirts. He sat in class quietly, never speaking unless asked. Other kids made fun of him. Still, he studied hard. He knew he had to escape. Every night, he talked to his mother's photo and whispered, "One day, I'll make you proud." By the time he turned 17, Xavian had learned how to repair broken bicycles, paint walls, and even carve wood. He did small jobs after school and saved money in an old tin box he hid under the bed. Kamla never noticed. At 18, he left home without telling anyone. He took a train to a nearby city called Navapur. He had only 1,800 in his pocket. He found work at a small street stall that made handmade candles. The owner, an old man named Raymond, let him sleep in the storeroom. Xavian learned fast how to wax, pour it into molds, add scents and colors. He worked 14 hours a day. After a year, Raymond grew ill and closed the shop. But Xavian had saved enough to rent a tiny one-room space in a market. He started making his own candles, basic ones at first. Then he added designs, colors, and natural oils. He made them look beautiful. He sold them on the street. People started noticing. He called his tiny stall Glow Nest. Customers began returning. "You make these by hand?" they would ask, surprised. "Yes," Xavian would say, smiling proudly. One day, a young woman named Sanvi walked up to his stall. She was a florist and wanted candles for her shop. She was cheerful and full of energy. "Your work is honest," she said, "and beautiful." She started ordering regularly. They talked often. Xavian told her about his past. She listened carefully, never judging. Slowly, they became close. Friendship turned into love. Over the next few years, Xavian's business grew. He moved into a small shop, hired 2 helpers, and started selling online. Sanvi helped with designs and social media. Glow Nest became a known brand in the city. They stayed together for 6 years. Xavian dreamed of marrying her, building a home, and starting a life. But life had other plans. A sudden storm destroyed his workshop. Machinery was ruined. Orders were delayed. Customers canceled. Xavian took loans to restart, but the kept getting worse. Then, one day, Sanvi said, "I think we should take a break." Xavian looked at her, shocked. "But we've come so far." "I know," she said, "but my parents don't support this, and I don't want to live like this, struggling every day. I need stability. You're always fighting. I can't do it anymore." She left. Xavian sat in silence that night. He had lost everything. His workshop, his money, and now the woman he loved. He thought of giving up. But then, he remembered his mother's voice. "You are meant for something big." The next morning, he woke up and made a plan. He borrowed a small amount from an NGO and rented a tin shed. He made 5 candles using leftover wax and started again. He began teaching himself through YouTube and free courses. How to market, how to design luxury candles, how to package better. He sent free samples to influencers. He redesigned his brand. He called it Xavi Essentials. His candles were now eco-friendly, long-lasting, and elegant. Within 6 months, orders started coming again. Slowly, things picked up. He started earning enough to pay his debts. Then came a big moment. A celebrity shared his candle on Instagram, calling it pure, and perfect. Orders exploded overnight. Xavian worked day and night, packing, replying, managing everything. He didn't sleep for days. He opened a bigger workshop, hired women from poor families, and trained them. He built a team, step by step. In 2 years, Xavi Essentials became one of the top-selling handmade candle brands online. His products reached major cities, five-star hotels, and even abroad. Magazines wrote about him. He was called the Candle King. He laughed when he read that. He had once begged for 1 rupee. Now he was building an empire, with wax and fire. One afternoon, while speaking at a college event, he told the students, "Pain is not your enemy, it's your teacher. People leaving you? That's a test. Failure? That's the training. If you can survive it, you will shine. Don't wait for luck. Become the reason you win." A few months later, Xavian got a call. It was Kamla, his stepmother. She was alone, old, and sick. "I made mistakes," she said, crying. "Will you forgive me?" Xavian paused. The pain of childhood was still inside him, but he was no longer that helpless boy. He had grown. He said, "I forgive you, because I don't carry hate anymore." He paid for her treatment and arranged for a caretaker. She cried on the phone, unable to believe it. Xavian continued building his business. He opened a candle cafe, a place where people could sit, relax, and make their own candles. It became popular among couples, families, and tourists. He also started free workshops for young artists and poor women. He believed in giving back. After all, he had once needed someone to believe in him too. One day, Sanvi came to his cafe. She had seen his brand on a magazine cover. "You made it," she said, tears in her eyes. "I always believed you would." Xavian smiled. "I did it, but not for revenge, for peace." He didn't ask her to come back. He didn't feel pain anymore. He had found something deeper than love. He had found purpose. Years later, when asked what made him successful, he replied, "I didn't let my story end in darkness. I lit a candle, and that one candle lit 1,000 more." And so, the boy who once slept hungry in a cold village lit up homes around the world with light, love, and hope.